Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. Purdue is 2-0 after a 34-17 win over Southern Illinois. It's a post-game podcast for you here today. We're going to take a look at some positives, some negatives from a 17-point win. A little bit different of a format than what we've done on the post-game podcast. I had this thought on my drive home last night. We're going to roll with it. Let me know how you like the format. And yeah, lots to talk about here. I have plenty of good, plenty of bad from Purdue's win. Let's go. If you don't, follow the show on Twitter at Boilers Beyond. There's a lot to talk about. You can always send in questions. Do so there on Twitter or email the show, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. And make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss an episode throughout the season. All right, Purdue 34, Southern Illinois 17. A little bit of a mixed bag of a game here. Purdue came in as a 19.5-point favorite. Southern Illinois is a solid FCS team, as we talked about coming into this. A top 15 team in the FCS coaches poll. A respectable outfit. To put it bluntly, it's a respectable outfit. It's one that if you're Purdue, though, and you are making the progress you want to, that you want to handle comfortably. After Southern Illinois scored on its first two drives, Purdue did handle this one comfortably. When it was 14-14, you had your questions. When Southern Illinois marched right down 13 plays, 14 points, you know, there's some conversation to be had here, and that's what I'm looking forward to breaking down here today. Barry Odom becomes the first Purdue coach since Cleo O'Donnell back in 1916 to begin his Purdue career with a 2-0 record. Purdue moves to 15-0 all-time against FCS competition since the split of Division I in the mid-'70s. So what's there to make of this? We're going to start with the good here today, with the positives. After the first two series, Purdue dominated this game. Southern Illinois gained 150 yards on the first two drives. It only gained 133 after that. It was 14-14 after each team possessed the ball twice. After that, Purdue outscored the Salukis 20-3. It was pretty dominant after the first quarter. Once you got into the second half, Purdue really controlled this thing. You saw Purdue sit on them. It looked like a sumo wrestler going against a lightweight for a little bit in that second half, just with how much Purdue physically controlled that game in the second half. That was the difference between a Big Ten team and an FCS team there in that second half. Purdue really controlled it. Southern Illinois hung around early, but when push came to shove, and it was 60 minutes of football, Southern Illinois couldn't handle it. Purdue had the ball for 20 of the 30 minutes in the second half. Just some real dominant ground control, ball control offense. Only 2.6 yards per play in the second half for SIU. No third down conversions. Purdue dominated this game from the third possessions on. That's a positive. Devin Mockabee, another positive in this game. 32 carries for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also caught 2 passes, totaling 147 yards from scrimmage in this game. Maccabee's going to be in ice baths all week after this. Really good effort by him. He really competed hard. He was asked to get a lot of tough yards, running between the tackles, wildcat formations. It's interesting. Purdue used these wildcat stuff quite a bit in 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. I'm very curious to see how those work against better competition when Purdue hasn't shown the ability to throw out of them at all. We're going to see. I'm curious to see how that works against USC, against Notre Dame here in these next couple weeks. But it worked well in these first two as Purdue brings on Jude McCoskey as a 6th offensive lineman for those games. This is why Purdue fans love him. Devin Maccabee's a gritty type of guy. He's fighting for every yard he gets. He played really well. He had a really nice day, a day that really helps him escalate up on that career rushing list as well, if you're keeping an eye on that. There is something to be said for Maccabee needing to get 32 carries against Southern Illinois. I don't know that that's ideal. I think that's a little bit telling of where Purdue is at with the rest of its running back room, because you look at this and Maccabee gets 32 carries. Antonio Harris and Malachi Thomas combined for 11. I'm not going to break down all the splits, but I think a good amount of those carries for those guys came in the fourth quarter. At one point, I remember looking at that in the second half, and it was even more lopsided than 32 to 11. Maccabee carries to other running back carries. I think this really shows you where Purdue is in the running back room. And keep in mind something here. Devin Maccabee and Malachi Thomas are both gone after this year. So Purdue's going to have a very different looking running back room next season. An area to kind of keep in mind here as the season winds down and you start looking out to the transfer portal cycle. Purdue ran the ball 53 times to just 23 passes in this game. It's been a long time since you saw a split like that at Purdue, at least thinking anecdotally here. In the Brom era, you never would have seen that. And then in the last 2 years, Purdue was never in a position to run the ball a ton because Purdue was always playing from behind. Been a long time since you saw that. It is nice to see Purdue do that against an inferior opponent. And it's not like Purdue is ripping off all these big runs, but it's nice to see Purdue be able to be the physical aggressor and be able to have success doing that. That's a really, really nice thing to see if you're a Purdue fan. George Burren, welcome back, man. Welcome back, George Burren. He led Purdue in receiving, albeit he just had 3 receptions, but 3 catches for 48 yards for Burren in this one. Played about half the snaps or so on offense. Purdue really needs him. If there's one thing we've seen, there's just not much else there at tight end. There was a play where Christian Moore gets hit in the flat on a little rollout by, I can't remember if it was a rollout or if it was just a drop back, but a play that should have been an easy first down didn't have the explosiveness to get there. There's not much else at tight end besides Burren. So tight end production isn't required. It's not like Purdue's ceiling is lowered by not having some game-changing tight end, but it's nice to have. It makes you more versatile when you're in 11, when you're in 12 personnel. It gives you more options there, although I don't think we're going to see much 12 personnel this year. I don't know that that's the type of offense Purdue has. Keeping him healthy, though. Burren is dynamic. He's a game changer. He is someone that makes opposing defenses worry. When he is right, when he is healthy, Purdue's got to keep him healthy. It's easier said than done because there's some history there, but man, if he's on the field, he's a nice weapon for you. Spencer Porath made both of his field goal tries. Another clean game by special teams. I think you like what you saw. Now, Purdue didn't punt in this game. Purdue scored or threw an interception on every drive it had. So there was no punting, which you'll take, but clean on kickoffs, pretty good day on special teams. Porath got a nice assist from the upright on his 43-yarder. It clanged off the left goalpost and dropped in. You'll take them however you can get them. They all count the same. 3 for 3 to start the year. Building some confidence now. This is positive. He's still a young guy. He's a true sophomore. Really struggled to end last season. You like watching him build momentum and build confidence there in that kicking game, because as you get into games later this year, you've got to know where you're at there. You've got to know when you can kick, when you can't. We watched it kill Purdue last year in that game against Northwestern. Purdue wasn't confident in its ability to kick, and that altered how Purdue approached it. So you got to know what you have there. So far, so good for the sophomore kicker from Brownsburg. Another really disciplined showing, I thought. Up until the fourth quarter, I believe Purdue was penalty-free. There was a late hit and a roughing the passer or an unsportsmanlike conduct maybe on Breon Ishmael. I think Charles Correa had a late hit, but all in all, another pretty clean game. You love that. You love that. That's a really good showing for Purdue in the penalty column. because Southern Illinois did not have a good showing in the penalty column. On Purdue's first drive, the drive was extended by a pass interference call that was a little questionable, but Purdue got it. And then on Purdue's second drive, Purdue was going to have to settle for a really long field goal try until a roughing the passer penalty on 3rd and long. Gave Purdue a first down, and on the next play, Purdue scores a touchdown pass to Nitro Tuggle. That's taking advantage of what you can get, man. There was another pass interference call, I remember, on what would have been a touchdown to Armad Branch. You got to take what you can get. I mean, Southern Illinois, I'm trying to find the penalty stats here. I don't know where on earth they went. Southern Illinois commits 5 penalties for 66 yards. Those are almost all 15-yard penalties, though. I mean, do the math there. That's a problem. Purdue took advantage of it. Sometimes when you're the disciplined team, you're going to take advantage of your opponent being undisciplined. Real positive there for Purdue. Southern Illinois can't have that happen when you're an FCS team trying to go on the road and beat an FBS. And I thought for Purdue, a positive here is that this was absolutely a better opponent than what Purdue saw last week. With all due respect to Ball State, I love the state of Indiana. Good old Funcy. Ball State's terrible. Ball State is awful. I heard a professional handicapper this week say that he has Ball State rated as the second worst team in the FBS right now, ahead of only Kent State. If you know anything about Kent State football, they're abhorrently bad. That sounds about right to me. Ball State's awful. Southern Illinois was a step up in competition, albeit not reflective of what you're going to see next week, but it was a step up in competition. Outside of the first 2 drives, Purdue handled it really well. I think you like some of the things you saw. Now, some of the negatives. Those first 2 drives were a problem. I mean, DJ Williams looked good in there, especially when Purdue was in zone coverage. There was a 3rd and 14, I think right away. I think that was right away. I think it was the 3rd play of the game where he finds a hole in the zone, throwing to his left, and the guy's wide open for a first down on a 3rd and 14. And then on 3rd and 6, he hits a slant. And then in there, he gets his legs going, and he hurts Purdue with his legs, and he moves the chains, and he gets a touchdown. This is a pretty nice FCS quarterback. As I understand it, he has another year of eligibility. If that's the case, last night was a really big night for him because he did some nice things against a power conference opponent. He's going to be on an FBS roster next year, whether it's as a starter for a G5 team or brought in as a backup or a QB competition guy at the Power 4 level. I don't know, but he's definitely good enough to play at the FBS level. He's had a couple of season-ending injuries that have limited him to this point. He's solid. He is a solid player, and he bit Purdue early a little bit. Purdue responded well. Purdue responded really well. Now, there were a few miscommunications early. A couple of times where Southern Illinois went to these bunch formations out wide, and Purdue only had 2 guys out there to cover it. That's stuff that needs to be cleaned up, but Purdue responded well. After those first 2 drives, only 133 yards. Some of that was in late first half to set up a irrationally long field goal try by Southern Illinois that didn't make it there from 59 or so. So some really good things by Purdue's defense from there on out. Problem is, you can't let this muster. You can't let this happen all the time. You can't be in situations where you're down, you're giving up 2 scores right away, getting settled in because you're not playing another Southern Illinois. You're not going to have a team like that again where you're just that much better than. So it's going to be interesting to see, but Purdue went through some adversity. It handled it well. It took a shot. It took a punch to the mouth, and it bounced right back. You don't get that in practice. You don't get that in film review. You get that when you actually go out there and get punched in the mouth and have to bounce back. Credit to Purdue for doing a nice job of that. I thought Ryan Brown was okay. I thought his interception looked like classic impatience from an inexperienced quarterback. At that point, Purdue was starting to chip away at Southern Illinois' defense and start to move the ball pretty well on the ground, not having to air it out too much. takes a shot, wasn't there, gets picked off, underthrew it. Just got to learn. This is only his fourth start. You got to remember that. This is going to be a learning experience for him. Purdue really tried to push the ball downfield until that moment. After that, Purdue almost gave up on really trying to push the ball downfield. Purdue was more than content to run the ball control offense, get out of Dodge. But, average depth of target for Ryan Brown over 12 yards for the second straight week. That's a lot. That's really asking him to push the ball downfield. He's responded really well to that for the most part. I'll be curious to see what he does there. Be curious to see how that changes the rest of the season, because I don't know that Purdue has the dynamic dudes out there to just be run and go routes and deep posts all season long. I don't know that you're going to be doing that. So I'll be curious to see what that looks like. Some of his read option stuff too needs some more work. I don't know how much Purdue asked Ryan Brown to do read option stuff in practice the last couple of years when he would have been running scout team stuff, but he doesn't look super comfortable with it yet. Like there was a jet sweep yesterday that could have been a really big gain that didn't get handed off. There are some times when you look at it and it just looks like the wrong read was made, that there was a lot there for the taking elsewhere. You live and you learn. It's part of growing into a new offense. It's part of the perils of having a first-time starting quarterback in the first year of this system. It is what it is. It's part of it. But again, as Purdue starts to face better competition, starts to face better defensive lines, faster linebackers, those decisions become more and more important because every yard matters more and more. There's not a lot of explosiveness in Purdue's run game right now. Yes, Purdue ran the ball pretty well yesterday. Purdue runs the ball 53 times for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. But, again, you're playing an FCS team, 4.1 yards per carry. That's not wonderful. 3.5 against Ball State last week, really not that good. Southern Illinois knew what Purdue was going to do for a while there and started to play up a little bit. I haven't rewatched it yet, but we know this is part of it. Teams are going to try to take the run away from Purdue, but still, not an overwhelmingly dominant performance. I don't know, though, and a fair point that has to be made, I don't know that Purdue has these home run hitters at running back. I think Devin Maccabee is a workhorse. He's going to grind for every yard he can. He's going to go out there and play hard. I don't know that he's your fireworks guy back there. I don't know that Purdue has anyone like that behind him. But of 53 carries against Southern Illinois, only 5 of them go for 10-plus yards. Your longest run came on your last series with Antonio Harris ripping off a 17-yarder. Before that, 12 yards, Maccabee's longest carry of the day. It just kind of comes back that, and you weren't going to get these questions totally answered against Ball State and Southern Illinois, but in the trenches and your team's speed, where is Purdue at there? Because that's going to be exposed here real quick if Purdue's lacking there. That's something that you're not going to be able to hide forever as you start playing better competition. I don't think it's it is what it is. I think it's just a limitations thing. I think Purdue's staff is doing a nice job at putting things into play that Purdue's team is capable of doing. I think you're happy with what Purdue's got and what Purdue's doing here schematically to make the most of its roster, but there are limitations to this roster. September means lots of things. The return of football season has us all excited. Pumpkin-scented candles are filling the air. Leaves are falling. The weather's turning. It's also Life Insurance Awareness Month. As an agent with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, my biggest passion is ensuring that my clients have the proper amounts and the proper types of life insurance. Give me a call, 317-846-5861, or email me, jordan.jones@infarmbureau.com. Let's make sure your family and your world are properly protected. So Purdue gets back at it next week with USC, and obviously we're going to have a episode midweek to preview the Trojans, really take a look at where Purdue is entering a big step up in competition. Earlier this morning, it's 1:27 as I record this. USC opened up at FanDuel at a 21.5 point favorite. That quickly went to 23.5. I haven't looked in a couple hours here. But Purdue's going to be a 4-score underdog here. Purdue had to start 2-0. Any other outcome would have been devastating to what Purdue wants to build in year one under Barry Odom. It did. It got that. Neither game was really ever in much question. Purdue looked fairly good doing it. Now, where do you go from here? How ready are you? That's a big question. This is going to be a really big step up. Purdue got exposed a little bit. Purdue fought back a little bit. It's going to look a lot different when USC comes to town. But, all in all, another good crowd on a beautiful night at Ross-Ade Stadium. Over 54,000 in the stands last night. You saw some good things. You saw George Burren come in. Purdue ran the ball effectively. I think Purdue has probably kept a pretty vanilla game plan here in these last two games. That goes out the window now. It's a 3:30 game on CBS. If you want to compete, you're not really going to be able to be too vanilla. So we're going to hear from Barry Odom on Monday. I'm going to rewatch this thing today. We're going to talk about my last observations from Southern Illinois. We're going to preview the Trojans on the show Tuesday night. Send me over questions, guys. Send me over your questions about Purdue football. Do it on Twitter, and be sure to follow there at Boilers Beyond. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I look forward to it, guys. Another fun week of college football in the books. And on that midweek show, talk a little bit how there are some teams in the Big Ten that are pretty bad. I don't think Purdue's going to finish last this year. So enjoy your week, guys. Enjoy this NFL Sunday. Bear down Chicago Bears tomorrow against the Vikings. Talk to you guys on Wednesday. Take care.